Raiders at the Titans. This is sitting right now 2.5. There's a 1.5 on the board actually in favor of the Raiders. So at least a little bit of money coming the Titans way over at FanDuel. It looks like 45.5 is your total here. Titans left tackle Taylor Lewan. Man, this guy, I feel so bad for him. Out for the season for the Titans. Just cannot stay healthy at all in this league. And so another big hit for the Titans. Adam, look, there was at least a question, right, coming into this season as to would this finally be the year that Derrick Henry fell off a little bit? And I was more of the camp, yes, I was super, super down on the Titans. And I wasn't necessarily saying it was because of ability for Derrick Henry, though I think there is at least some question as to whether he's been the same since that injury from last season. But you just can't be as effective if you can't move the ball at all. If the offensive line is one of the worst out there, you just can't move the ball. If your quarterback cannot connect with receivers, it's going to be really tough to move the ball on the ground. I think we've seen that play out for this Titans team here through the first couple of weeks of the season. But then on the flip side, our concern about the Raiders and the offensive line that we talked about heading into the season has also come to fruition here, where the Raiders offensive line through the first 2 weeks of the season graded 31st in the league by Pro Football Focus. So it's just one of those games. I can't get a bet in the account. I lean the Raiders pretty heavily because I do think, at least from a talent perspective, they're better than the Titans. But hell, could Jeffrey Simmons end up with 3-4 sacks in this game and Derek Carr still running for his life or so? Maybe so. So just too tough for me here. I'm interested in your perspective.
Again, if I trust my numbers, I trust that I see Tennessee as a short favorite in this game. And if I were to trust that enough, then I could get to the point of saying, all right, I'll put something on Tennessee. Frankly, if it gets out to a place where you could tease it with Tennessee at home, then I think you're probably in your best possible spot. Now, overall, I think you're worried about the wrong Derek in this game. You need to be worried about Derek Carr. We saw that Derek Carr never had the kind of weapons after they traded Amari Cooper where anyone said, well, he could be the problem. And you know what, y'all? He could be the problem. And it's not just the offensive line. We talked about how bad the offensive line was. A lot of that came to fruition last week. In week 1 against the Chargers, they held up enough for that team to have a chance to win the game until the final drive when Khalil Mack got revenge on them and wrecked them. But right now, if you look at Derek Carr, 6 turnover-worthy plays, 1 big-time throw. Last week, they targeted Devontae Adams 7 times. He caught 2 passes. One of those is a pick play at the goal line in which it wasn't even a real route. What's going on with this offense? What's going on with Josh McDaniels and this team overall? They don't look the part of an offense that can keep up in the AFC West in the slightest. And so I'm with you, Matt, that if you look at the talent, the only side that has any talent left is the Las Vegas Raiders. But the way the Raiders blew that game against Arizona last week makes this a stay away game for me overall. Because, yes, I said I like Tennessee as a short favorite, but when the difference is essentially, what is it, Raiders 1 versus Tennessee 1, whatever, those points don't matter as much between the threes. I look at this game and say, I don't trust Tennessee's lack of dudes. I don't trust the Las Vegas coaching staff because they gave that game away. One of the drives they had in the fourth quarter, guys, they had a drive that was less than a minute long when they were up 16 points because they threw the ball 3 times on a drive in the fourth quarter, up 16 points. That's not Derek Carr. That's not the offensive line. That's Josh McDaniels. And so we heard a lot about Josh McDaniels being a different guy coming in from New England. And thus far, what we've seen is that Josh McDaniels is not going to be a whole lot better in Las Vegas.
Stephen, the smallest of sample size, obviously, we're only 2 games in, but the Tennessee Titans pass blocking grade is dead last in the NFL. You do have in Vegas Chandler Jones and Max Crosby, so you should, in theory, have a massive advantage on the defensive line to the offensive line from the Tennessee Titans. That said, we just haven't seen that come to fruition through a couple of games yet. with the Raiders. Jones and Crosby haven't really been able to get off. Now, this could be a get-right situation for them for sure, going up against a team that seems like they can't block. And also, oh, by the way, Taylor Lewan gone for the season now for the Titans. So maybe that's a reason, if you do want to back the Raiders here, to kind of get in on them in a, get ahead of the curve here, where this defensive line does find a way to get right and creates all kinds of havoc against Ryan Tannehill. But again, just not enough for me. Maybe a contest play for me, like not a put in the account type deal, but maybe it's a contest play for me, but that's about it.
Yeah, we're seeing everything from Raiders -1.5 to -2.5 as we record on Friday morning. If this somehow gets the Raiders -3, like that is the stupidest bet. Like, do not bet the Raiders -3. But full disclosure, I did bet them -1 earlier this week, basically saying this game's a pick 'em. And I agree with everything Adam said about the Raiders. They look disorganized. They were already one of the luckiest teams in the NFL last year to win as many games as they did, with turnover luck and overtime wins, etc. But the Tennessee's running out of bodies here. I mean, they lost Harold Landry and Deshaun Hand, two of their best pass rushers in the front seven. This secondary has now allowed 9 yards per attempt to Daniel Jones and 8.3 yards per attempt to Josh Allen. And now they have to face Devontae Adams and Darren Waller. So I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball very well, but it is a pass funnel defense here, because the Raiders' offensive line is not good, as we've documented, and Tennessee through 2 weeks is the #1 run-stop win rate. That's fine with me. Go ahead and throw on the secondary. Like, be more heavy than usual throwing on this Tennessee secondary, and I'm perfectly okay with that. And then on the other side of the ball, Tennessee's offense just is not explosive. They're 31st in EPA through 2 weeks. They are bottom 10 in rush EPA and success rate. The offensive line has taken a big step back. So yeah, we can kind of debate back and forth who should be a small favorite here, but it's basically a pick 'em, let's be honest. And this is just another opportunity for me to put money on my preseason opinion that Tennessee is going in the wrong direction and not a very good roster at this point. So I'm going to stick to my guns on that.
Yeah, I also think that there's a non-zero chance that if this thing does get ugly by halftime in favor of the Raiders, that we see Malik Willis in this game. Like, I think that the drum beat is going to get bigger and bigger. It's going to be a bad season for the Titans as it is anyway. I think we all kind of agree with that. So it would be only Tannehill unders for me if I was playing any sort of prop market or anything like that. Because again, I think there's non-zero chance that he doesn't complete this game for them.